to another video today. Not today. You'll see. Hello, today I'm gonna be I keep saying today. Not today. Today I'm gonna talk to you for about a minute, and then I'm gonna see you in like 1 or 2 days. I keep trying to say today, don't say today. I'm going to be watching Mob Psycho 100, whatever the title is, I'm gonna be watching that for a video. So, does anyone remember my I Watch No Game No Life video? Well, I made a playlist for that if you didn't know, so I'm gonna be continuing that. It's been 2 months. I am doing another anime review right now, by the way. It's Sakamichi, no, it's the Japanese name. Kids on the Slope, but that's a different review type. It's, watching an episode with you as I go. This one's going to be me watching the whole entire anime and then coming back, telling it to you episode by episode. So if you don't know what I'm saying, go watch the No Game No Life video, even if you don't like No Game No Life. Like, I really didn't. I mean, I said I kind of did, but we all know I didn't. Come on. Yeah, but maybe we don't. I do. I'm rambling. But yeah, I just wanted to come in here and say I'm gonna watch No Game No Life.
No, Emma. No, you're not. You're going to watch Mob Psycho 100. Come on.
And you will see me in a few days, and then I'll tell you my feelings. My beginning thoughts are I know a lot of people like this anime. I've never really seen it. It doesn't seem interesting to me, but a lot of my anime friends really like it. So I mean, maybe I'll like it. Hopefully I'll like it. Also the guy's name is Kageyama, and I can totally 100% get behind that. So see you guys in like 1 to 2 days, where I tell you about the anime. Bye.
I forgot to mention this is inspired by Ordinary Dreamer, so definitely go check out her channel.
Okay, it's the next day. I tried to film this last night, didn't work out. I was not hype enough. So I'm here today. I don't know if my hair is still blue. That's also a thing I want to say. I'm not sure, so. Wonderful. This is going to be very, very long. I can already tell you. You might want to take breaks if you're going to watch this. I don't know if you're even going to watch this, but you know what? I'm proud of it, and that's all that matters. So, let's go. I'll pull up a little synopsis of what Mob Psycho 100 is about, so you can pause that and read it if you'd like. I don't feel like reading it, so I'm just going to tell you all my notes. Okay. I'm really trying to get prepared that I'm going to have to sit here for like 40 minutes. I also might end up changing because it's really, really cold in here, so I'm wearing this shirt, so. Okay, episode 1. Right when you begin the episode, there's this cool magic fight scene shit stuff happening. And it also shows flashes of counting. Now, counting is very important, as you would suspect from the title being Mob Psycho 100. Basically, he has these cut screens that are like progression to explosion, and it'll give you like a percentage. So numbers are important, all right? It's not like math or anything, it's just the numbers, you know? We get this cool narration. I also might try to put in clips. I'll definitely put in pictures of the characters so you can like see what they look like. So, yeah. If I can find clips, I might put them in. If I can find like a clip of this narration, I'll go ahead and put it in.
世の中には未だに科学では解明できない怪奇現象が確かに存在する。人々はそれらと出くわした時、なすすべもなくただ恐怖の闇に突き落とされてしまう。そんな混沌とした闇に一筋の光を差すべく日々戦い続ける者たちがいた。人は彼らをこう呼んだ。霊能力者と。
Now we meet one of the main characters, Reagan. I'm going to say his name is Reagan. I'm not sure if that's completely right. I've heard it been said as Reagan. If I'm not right, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say Reagan. So Reagan, he is, this is him. He owns like a little shop where he exercises spirits, if you get what I'm saying. Reagan is not a psychic, all right? Reagan really does put on this facade that he is a psychic, and it's very easy to see through, but our main character does not see through it. So he thinks Reagan is the shit when Reagan is not the shit. Reagan, though, is helping this boyfriend and girlfriend who are experiencing some spooky things that the boyfriend doesn't believe in this, but the girlfriend took a test of courage, and she's been having nightmares ever since. A test of courage, if you've seen a normal anime trope, you should know what it is. If not, it's, you go out and walk in the woods sometimes with like a buddy, and like you try not to get scared. People try to scare you. That's kind of what a test of courage is. But in this case, it was like a building that they went to. So it's like kind of like a spooky place, but usually like what I've seen, it's been like forests. This is what the woman says the ghost is, like the spirit. So apparently this place is haunted by the spirit of a guy who saw a cockroach and jumped so high his head went through the ceiling and he died. All right. So the boyfriend proceeds to call Reagan a fake psychic. How could he do that? And the spirit appears. Reagan has these things called special moves. They're oh, they're so much fun. One of them he uses right now. He throws table salt at the spirit. And I think punches it. I don't really remember. He has a few that they're kind of all mixing together with me, but I know he throws table salt at the spirit. Doesn't work. I should have said that. It doesn't work. So then Reagan calls in our main character, Mob, or Kageyama Shigeo Kageyama. This is him to come take care of this because Mob is an actual psychic, all right? We get Mob's cool little intro as he destroys the spirit, erases it in a very crack-headed way. This show has a lot of things where you're like, oh god, that's a lot happening, that's a lot of colors, that's a lot.
彼の名は影山茂雄、通称モブ。本物の超能力者であり、霊源新の弟子である。そしてこの物語の主人公である。
Surprisingly, Reagan has very good morals. Well, decent morals. I mean, I kind of liked the stuff that he would say, because I've seen all the way up to the 6th episode, of course, and Reagan does say some good shit, you know? So apparently Reagan made Mob kind of promise that he wouldn't hurt anyone with his psychic powers. This comes into play later. It's kind of important, so it's a thing that needs to be noted. After this, we proceed to meet a few important people in Mob's life and to the story. We meet his parents. He has a mom and a dad. I don't know their names. They're not super important from what I've seen so far. And his brother, Ritsu. Younger brother, Ritsu, I think. We also meet his crush, Tsubame-chan. I will be calling her Tsubame-chan. She's great. Love her. And we kind of go into his school life after this. A lot happens in these episodes, so there's a lot of notes and a lot of like going back and forth. Especially in the 6th episode, you'll see it's like a lot to like try to explain. We go to his school life. We can see he's not the best at school. I mean, I understand, bro. Like, stuff is hard. I'm not doing the best right now, but it's fine. He's not the best at sports or education, what is it, like math, science, stuff like that. After school, Reagan calls him and tells him to come to the station for a little exorcism job. And apparently it's at this old, like, tunnel. Now, I left a little note that I said at this point I noticed something on the screen, 11:05. This happened before, I'm not sure when it happened, but as I said, counting is important in this anime. There'll be like a little cut screen that says like progression to Mob's explosion. Or like something like that. Explosion and progression is in there. I know that for a fact. And it'll have these little like percentages of his progression to his explosion, you know? So you might hear me just like randomly mention that. So the boys get there and they venture into this haunted tunnel. Mob kind of mentions that a lot of haunted places aren't haunted, but this place is definitely haunted. So Mob proceeds. I'm gonna say proceeds and progress and a lot of words that are gonna be like and next and this and whatever. Mob proceeds to fight the spirit and Reagan runs away. Right into the boss spirit. So Reagan continues to act like he's a shit. I think pulls out like a special move. Doesn't work. While Mob basically does everything. So Mob fights the evil spirit dude and wins. And then he like kind of erases him, and right before he like erases him, the dude tells him, like the spirit tells him that there's an even bigger spirit boss dude down the tunnel. So then Mob goes down there, fights the spirit, and disappears it. Disappears it. And then the episode ends by Mob going back to the other boss spirit from before and giving him a picture that he took during his lifetime. Really adorable. Episode 2. The episode starts off with kind of us getting like a narration about adolescence, and then Reagan goes straight into talking about porn sites. I left a little note that said explain, but I'm actually not sure how to explain this. That's like,
影山茂雄、通称モブ、中学2年生。中学2年生といえば人生において最も多感な時期であり、人はそれを青春時代とも呼ぶ。スポーツに汗を流す者、学問に励む者、趣味に没頭する者、才能を磨く者、反発する者、そして異性との恋に落ち甘酸っぱい恋愛を味わう者。若者たちのさまざまな思いが交錯するそんな青春時代。モブは貴重な時間を時給300円の霊能商法アシスタントに費やしていた。エロサイトが原因だ。
There was this dude at Reagan's exorcist shop, and Reagan said he had the porn site curse or something like that. I don't really remember. And he gives him a massage to get rid of that. Then we kind of cut over to this new group of people called the Telepathy Club. They're, you know, the average club that doesn't have enough members, and the student council's about to come in and be like, hey, get those members or we're like abolishing your club. So the Telepathy Club has 2 days to get new members or they're done. It's like a normal anime trip, you know? We go into a montage of the Telepathy Club trying to get new members. They don't get any until one of the I can't say Telepathy Club. One of the club members brings in Mob as a possible new member. He doesn't really want to join, of course, and he says he has an exorcist job to go to. But the Telepathy Club really wants this new member, so they're like trying to convince Mob, and Mob's like, okay, I'll call my boss, Reagan. So he calls Reagan, and you know, him and Reagan have a conversation about this, and then the girl and Reagan end up, the club president of the Telepathy Club, blah, 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 ends up having a conversation with Reagan about Mob joining. Next thing you know, we're at another cut. Mob and Reagan are in schoolgirl disguises and are apparently trying to exorcise a school. Not Mob's school, an all-girls school. Another one of the progression to explosion scenes shows up. Reagan gets seen through at the gate, so he can't go into the school, but Mob is just allowed right in. Mob goes and tries to find the girls that employed him, but he ends up accidentally finding thugs instead. And then he does end up finding the girls that actually, you know, have the job. So the girls tell us that creepy things have been happening, like things have been disappearing, they've been hearing weird noises, and things have been floating in the air. They use a bra as an example. Wonderful. Mob gets a little nervous because he's like, I can't do this without Reagan, because he thinks Reagan is such a good, you know, psychic, but in reality he's not. And then they go and try to find the spirit. Right when they start their little investigation, they hear a scream from the girls' bathroom. They go in there and the girl's like, someone was looking over the top of the door. But get this, no one was there. Then they go back to trying to find the spirit. Mob finally determines that the spirit is in the gym, but the girls' basketball team is actually practicing in the gym. Well, I guess just the basketball team because it's an all-girls school. So he decides to confine the spirit to the gym and go in there and exorcise it. Right when they go into the gym, a basketball stops in midair and the spirit appears. Mob wins the fight again, of course, and right before he erases the spirit starts talking to Mob and saying, you're just like me, you get nervous around girls too. You're a loser. A loser. A loser. And after this, we kind of like get into more of Mob's, I don't say self-esteem, but that's not the right word. Like, you know, I think you know what I'm trying to get at, you know, with someone calling you a loser, it's not that fun. As the episode goes on, you can see that Mob is upset and affected by what the spirit said. But we continue. I kind of forgot to mention this, but Mob actually told them that he would come back, like, you know, like the next day to tell them if he wanted to be in the club or not. So he does return to the Telepathy Club, and so does the Student Council Vice President, with the new club that will be taking their room. Another little important group that we have is the Body Improvement Club. So the Student Council Vice President starts, I hate having to say all of that, starts talking to Mob, like, you know, do you really want to do this, you know? Like, you shouldn't join this club, and makes him even more worried by saying, do you, like, find anything enjoyable, or, like, do you have anything, like, you really want to do? So Mob reveals that his dream, and the thing he wants to do, is, like, kind of get together with Tsubome-chan. We get a flashback of Mob's childhood with him trying to impress Tsubome-chan, but it not really working. And out of nowhere, Mob tells us that he will be joining the Body Improvement Club. Not what you were expecting, right? I wasn't either. I was literally writing down, so out of, like, you know, surprisingly, he joins, like, the telepathy club, and he's like, the body improvement club. I was like, wait, what? And then right before the episode ends, a progression to explosion scene shows up. Sorry, I have a lisp. Episode 3. The episode starts off by Mob and the Body Improvement Club doing some workout stuff together. The best way I can describe this is, if you guys are watching Haiku to the Top, like part 2, spoiler.
Usually I put a little thing on the screen that says skip to this time, but since I'm not going to be editing this video again because it's so dang long, just skip ahead a few, like, 10 seconds, you know?
They focus on Nekoma for a little bit, and there's a scene, like a flashback of Kenma, I think was in middle school, and he is like running with the rest of the team, and he's like away far, like, behind. That's like what it looks like. If I can find the scene, I'll play it, and then if I can find the Mob Psycho scene, I'll play it. Then we proceed back to the telepathy club. So the Body Improvement Club, ever so graciously, let the telepathy club continue to use the room, but with their equipment in there. Mob kind of passed out when he was running, so, like, the Body Improvement Club was bringing him in, so now he's just kind of sitting there with the telepathy club, and he proceeds to, he proceeds to tell the telepathy club that he has psychic powers, and shows them his psychic powers. After seeing this, the telepathy club president is like, wow, you can make my dream come true. Which, you want to hear what a dream is? My dream is to contact and interact with extraterrestrial life forms. She's so much fun. Mob tells the telepathy girl, actually I should just call her that, that he's found something that he wants to do. He said he wants to become more appealing to, you know, Tsubame-chan. Telepathy girl says, you're not going to become popular, you're not going to be able to change who you are. And then she says, if you really want to become popular, read girls' mind using telepathy. Don't do that if you have telepathy. You know, if you're out there and you have telepathy, don't do that. Then we go back to Mob going to Reagan's little shop. He asks Reagan somewhat about it. He's kind of vague, but, you know, Reagan sees through him. Mob tells us he doesn't really want to be popular. He just wants to be close to Tsubame-chan. And then this random woman who's, okay, this is important. She's wearing, like, a mask. Like, I'll try to pull up a photo of the mask. Like, it has, like, a little happy face, and, you know, it looks kind of creepy. She comes out of nowhere, and she's like, you know, do you have problems with your grades? And Mob is like, no. Do you have problems with this? No. Do you have problems in your love life? And he's like, oh, how did you know? And she proceeds to say, like, no, of course I knew, you know, whatever. And tells him, come with me if you want to resolve your problems. So this woman tries to sell us on her weird, sketchy group. And the leader, she mentions him a bunch, Dimple-sama. He's a very important character, you'll see. Dimple-sama also can make anyone laugh immediately. That is very important. But not very important, but kind of important. It's important. So she, you know, takes Mob to their weird group, and puts him on stage with this other girl who's a little bit important from what I've seen so far, and this other guy who's not super important. The girl who's standing up there with him is this girl from actually his class named Mezuto. Here is Mezuto. And then the renowned, the myth, the legend, Dimple-sama comes out. This is Dimple-sama. He's great. And I'm gonna read my note right here. And the lady was not wrong. He got everyone to laugh immediately for no reason. Literally, that's exactly what happened. Dimple-sama gives us his whole spiel about how these people are not happy, and like he can make them happy by laughing and whatever. Now remember those masks that I mentioned? Everyone's been wearing a mask the whole time, by the way. They try to put a mask on the one guy who was there with, you know, Mob and Mezuto. Forgot her name. They end up getting a mask on the dude and then Mob, but not on Mezuto. So Mezuto ends up revealing that she's with the school newspaper and she's trying to get a story on them. She doesn't trust them. She's like, I don't believe you guys got this many members in a month. You must be doing some weird stuff. So her theory is that they're using hypnosis and trying to brainwash and force people into joining, which, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, she's not too far off. Then, I'm not really sure how to word this, but Dimple-sama tries to prove his own theory and takes off the dude's mask from earlier and he's laughing. I wasn't really sure how that worked, but you know what, Dimple-sama, you do you. Mezuto's like, you know what, I'm good, I'm actually gonna leave. And Mr. Dimple-sama, man, he's like, no, you're not, you're gonna laugh. So they try to put a mask on her and she ends up smiling, even though she doesn't want to smile. Mob then raises his hand, takes off the mask and says, the theme here is to be smile and happy. It's not popular. Can I leave then? Because he came here, you know, because love problems, but obviously that's not what this is about. When Mob took off his mask, you know, he's not smiling, he's not laughing, not nothing. Dimple-sama is obviously shocked. He says, hey, well, Dimple-sama says, hey, you want to have a challenge? It's basically like a try not to laugh challenge, with like 3 of his head people and Mob. And then another progression scene shows, sorry, that was not wording. The challenge starts and ends within a few seconds because Mob is not laughing. Every one of Dimple-sama's head 3 dudes loses. And then Dimple-sama's like, hey, no, I'm gonna try this then. He cheats, messes with the, they're not using water, by the way, for a try not to laugh challenge, they're using milk. He messes with the milk that Mob had. And, you know, Mob spits it out and Dimple-sama's like, oh my god, I won, you know, ha ha ha. And Mob's like, I didn't laugh though. Mob uses some weird psychic powers to get rid of the stuff that was making people laugh, but Dimple-sama puts it back on. He also reveals that it is hypnosis. Dimple-sama tries one last ditch effort and then triggers a flashback of Mob's childhood. Apparently, as a kid, Mob always looked kind of bored. And he never really laughed or anything. And Tsubame-chan was kind of an asshole about that and used to rub it in and would say like, oh, you're not having fun? Get a clue. Like, leave. She's an asshole. Progression goes up to 74%, by the way. Dimple-sama uses his divine power, and it still doesn't work. He tries to anger Mob, saying like, if you don't have any emotions, how are you going to be with the girl you like? You know, you won't be able to like share those emotions. Progression goes to 88, then goes to 92. Dimple-sama then reveals that he is an evil spirit. And, you know, he kind of has like psychic powers like Mob. Because he's a spirit, though. Dimple-sama's followers end up like going on, you know those things where it's like, I'll try to pull up a picture if I can find it, you know, where people like jump on top of you, kind of like that. And he has another flashback. If I can find this narration scene, I'll play it, because I didn't really describe it well in my notes, so hopefully I can find it. If not, you just don't get to know what happens.
ここに一人の超能力者がいる。周囲からモブと呼ばれる小学生。彼は強力な力を持っていながらも、自らそれを披露することを無意識に避けるようになっていた。成長を重ねるごとに自分の力が危険であることに徐々に気づいていったのだ。好きなように思うがまま動けないとなると、常に感情にブレーキをかけた状態になる。力の使用を避ける生活がコンプレックスになっていることにモブ本人は気づいていない。
There is more to the flashback, but there was a lot of flashing, so I ended up just cutting it out. If you want to go and watch the actual flashback, it's in the 3rd episode near the end.
And then the explosion, sorry, I hit my cherry blossom lantern, happens. Mob kind of goes a little crazy, and we get kind of revealed that he'll have these like explosions of whatever emotion he's having, like in this case rage. So he has a big rage explosion. That's what like the progression to explosion was. Mob also wins, by the way, of course. Then we show up back at Reagan's place. The people, Dimple-sama's followers wake up and they're like, oh my god, Dimple-sama wasn't the real Jesus. But what about that kid? What about that kid? We gotta find that kid. Mezuto also proceeds to wake up and take pictures for her school newspaper. Progression is at 0. Mob wakes up in his room the next morning. You know, progression is 0, he's doing fine. And this spirit shows up. I'll show you a picture of the spirit. He's a very important character. Progression goes to 20. Okay, end of the 3rd episode. I gotta go to my new notes because my phone started death. So I had to go and take more on a different thing. Episode 4 starts off by a fight between Salt Middle, which is the school that, okay, I feel like this is kind of noteworthy. The town that Mob lives in is called Seasoning City, or Seasoning whatever. And the school he goes to is Salt Middle. It's so perfect. But episode 4. So episode 4 starts off with a fight between Salt Middle and this other school called Black Vinegar Middle. And we meet a character who's very, very important in the next few episodes, Teru. This is Teru. He's just like the tiniest bit narcissistic. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I mean, I don't want to like call him out, but he's just, like, it's such a tiny amount, you know? Remember that spirit I mentioned at the end of last episode? That was Dimple-sama. Now, since he's not Dimple-sama anymore, I don't know why I keep doing this, we're just gonna be calling him Dimple. Dimple tells us that his dream is that he wants to become a god. And to do that, he needs to team up with Mob. Mob's like, I don't really trust you, but he's like, oh, I won't do anything bad. So he's like, all right, sure. Wonderful. So Dimple Sama gives us a little narration, and, you know, he's not actually too trustworthy. He's, like, trying to figure out how to possess Mob at one point, so. Mesuto shows up again and finds Ritsu, was about to say Kageyama. Kageyama's brother. Mob's brother, and she says she wants to show him something. Then we go over to Reagan, who is exercising a photo. He's using Photoshop. Mob comes in with Dimple and says, hey Reagan, should I, you know, exercise this spirit? And Reagan so cleverly says, it's too weak for me to see, so do whatever you want. We go back to Mesuto and Ritsu. Mesuto said she wants to interview him, obviously like for like the school newspaper or something, paper or something. We go back to Mob. Mob and Dimple are walking home and they see a poster of Dimple Sama's old followers wanting to find their new god, but Mob's like, does that look like me? And Dimple Sama's like, nah. And they just end up ignoring it. So apparently, I'm gonna have to start reading this from the thing because I'm like losing patience. Ritsu's kind of jealous of his brother, even though you would think, you know, they're exact opposites. It's kind of weird. They're both like jealous of each other in their own ways. So he's kind of jealous that he doesn't have psychic powers, and Mob's kind of jealous that he's not like normal. Ritsu and Mob end up walking to school together, sorry, and they have a little chat about psychic powers. Then we cut to the Body Improvement Club and we meet some more important characters, the thugs of Salt Middle.
I couldn't find a good picture of all the thugs, so this is one of the most important ones, Onigawara. You'll see him later on.
Apparently, the thugs are from like the beginning of the episode. They want help trying to crush Black Vinegar Middle. Progression goes to 28%. And Mob gets a love letter. It does not look like a love letter, by the way. And then the Vinegar Middle School also gets like a letter, but it's like a challenge letter. It's not a love letter. Mob ends up, you know, going to this spot of the love letter, and so do the Vinegar Middle people. The thugs, they're the ones writing the letters, by the way, of Salt Middle. They end up kidnapping Mob and then giving a note to the Body Improvement Club saying that they kidnapped him. The Body Improvement Club comes and tries to get Mob back, but Mob literally just walks away and goes back with them. But the Black Vinegar Middle people are like, no, we're gonna fight. So this fight is between the Body Improvement Club and Black Vinegar Middle, by the way. The thugs from before of Salt Middle are not there. As you would expect, the Body Improvement Club beats the crap out of them. But then, remember that guy Teru, who's like the tiniest bit narcissistic? He shows up. If you didn't tell I was using sarcasm, Teru is very, very narcissistic. I'm gonna say this a lot. He says some narcissistic stuff, and then he fights them. The narcissistic thing I'm gonna keep saying. Teru then reveals that he has psychic powers. Who just texted me? Well, okay, he doesn't really reveal, but you can obviously tell he has psychic powers. It's fine. After Teru beats the crap out of literally everyone there, he goes up against Mob, who is the last one standing. 48% progression, and the episode ends. Episode 5. Teru then realizes that they are the same and continues to fight. Progression goes to 45%. Teru attempts to fight Mob, but Mob, if you remember, Mob says he won't fight anyone. Like, remember that thing I said in the first episode? Yeah, the thing I said it was important. Well, in quotes, this is what I guess he said. You're not supposed to use psychic powers against people. Who am I getting emails from now? People just love talking to me, as you can tell. Then we also get a nice flashback of Reagan telling him morals, which is just amazing. Also, this is kind of important. I don't know if you haven't seen this, you wouldn't know, but it's not just Mob there. Dimple is also there, but you know he's a spirit, so no one can really see him. I guess for Teru can see him. Teru proceeds to spew more narcissistic crap while beating up Mob. Then Dimple actually steps in and tries to stop the fight, but freaking Teru erases Dimple before he can even finish his sentence. So now Dimple's gone, actually. Mob gets upset and his progression goes up to 50%. There's a flashback of Dimple being an annoying perv, and Mob says he didn't actually really mind too much that he was erased. But then Teru messes it all up, continues to spew more narcissistic shit, and Mob is like, oh, well, maybe Dimple wasn't actually that bad. I mean, if you're comparing anyone to Teru, Dimple's not that bad.
My Hero Academia spoiler. I don't know where it's from, so there's no clip, but I do talk about a certain point in My Hero.
The fight continues, and I'm gonna make another reference. My Hero this time, I don't remember if it's Deku or Bakugo, but it was definitely like 3rd season, 2nd season My Hero, where they have like the, you know, the big fight in that one area. I don't remember anything from My Hero at this point.
The sports festival?
Where they fight against Todoroki. Either Deku or Bakugo, I don't really remember. And they're like, show me your power, Todoroki! That's kind of like what's happening here. They end up fighting into the school and going into the home ec room. Teru pulls out a bunch of knives. He does say he doesn't plan on killing Mob, but hopefully this will make him decide if he's going to show him his powers. Mob deflects the knives, and it ends up cutting off the top of Teru's hair. Teru gets very mad about this. And they also have this very weird introduction. He's like, hi, I'm Teru, you know, hi, I'm Kageyama Shigeo. Teru continues to be narcissistic. I'm gonna read this word for word of what I wrote. Mom tells Teru that they're both the same, not because they have psychic powers, but because if their powers got taken away, they'd be nothing, and they have no confidence in themselves because of that. So Teru's narcissistic is obviously just like a facade. Maybe he is narcissistic, I don't know. Teru then tries to choke him. Thanks, Teru, really appreciate that. Progression goes from 72 to 79. Mob punches him in the saddest punch way I've ever seen. 80% progression. Then we go to a flashback of Mob's when Ritsu was kind of getting bullied, and Mob kind of passes out but has like, you know, like an explosion thing where he has like no consciousness of what he's doing. The number goes up, like the progression glitches, and then Mob passes out from obviously being choked. A narration starts about how no one was the winner until Mob gets up. His counting, his progression is just question marks, and we have a big rage explosion. Mob, or what you would presume is Mob, sucks up all of Teru's energy, and then the school starts to like freaking break apart. Like the universe is like done, but it's just the school, you know? Teru then finally said something that isn't narcissistic. It was a shock, to be completely honest. And Mob snaps out of it. Mob realizes what he has done and has another explosion this time, but it's sadness. The school gets put back together. It looks so cool, I'm not even gonna lie. And then Mob goes out and tries to find Dimple. Sadly, he doesn't find Dimple though. Ritsu ends up coming into his room and he's like, hey bro, you want a towel? Because it was raining or whatever. Mob ends up apologizing for, remember that flashback, you know, Ritsu got beat up? He ends up apologizing for that. So Mob's like, what did I end up doing to you? And Ritsu's like, oh, nothing, you know, like one of the high school kids just kicked me. Like the people who were bullying him. But do we really believe that? No. No, we don't. Ritsu goes down, watches the news, you see the stuff that happened to the school today, and then we get the actual flashback from Ritsu. And it's kind of like a rage explosion of what, you know, like that's what happened in the flashback, and that's like the same thing that happened in today's episode. Also, the episode just ends by Mob catching a cold. Lol. That's what I said. Okay, the last episode. Also the most confusing episode, by the way, but episode 6. We start with a flashback from Ritsu of Mob and him talking about... Oh, we start with a flashback of Ritsu and Mob talking about how Ritsu's gonna get psychic powers. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. I mean, you already kind of know that. Ritsu then goes and wakes up in the middle of the night, goes and gets water and tries to, like, you know, mess with the water with using psychic powers, but it doesn't move. We see Reagan again, and he's hosting a seance with a client for his father. Reagan starts the seance and doesn't really take into account that this guy could be from America and speak English, which he is. So he has to go back and say, you know, it's auto-translated or, you know, whatever. So Reagan summons the dad again. And the guy who came in for the seance is like, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And Reagan's like, makes stuff up from like what would happen around that time. And then the guy's like, you know what? Screw it. What's the password to the safe? And Reagan's like, it's this, you know, like a reference he made earlier. The man also ends up pulling a knife on Reagan, and Reagan does a special move. Whew, I don't remember what this one was, but it was probably amazing. Reagan says that the special move that he just used was in self-defense, and Mob's like, was everything I did in last episode self-defense? Reagan gives him a little bit of reassurance, but he's like, how was that all for self-defense? And then we go back to the thugs who were scheming. Also goes to Mezuto, you know, trying to like interview Mob about what happened last episode. And then after Mezuto leaves, telepathy lady comes in and she's like, hey, you want to go on a date and find other telepathic people? And then the thugs come over and they're like, they apologize to Mob about, you know, stuff that happened last episode. Also, Ritsu, a little fact about Ritsu is that he's in the student council. So that's kind of important for this episode. We go to a student council meeting now that Ritsu's in. The student council president The best way to describe him is he looks like he hasn't slept in years. This is what he looks like. Also, the whole atmosphere of the student council room is just like really eerie. It was like, ooh. The student council president asks Ritsu about whatever, and Ritsu ends up recommending this idea that they should discipline the delinquents. And they end up deciding to do that. I'm sorry if none of that made sense, by the way. I don't think I described it very well. Then as Ritsu is walking home, he gets confused. Someone confuses him with his brother. And it's this dude who wants him to join an awakening club. A camp. Test lab thing? I don't remember what it was. Then we cut again to the little date between Mezuto. Was it Mezuto? No. Club president of Telepathy Club. Yes. And Mob, who haven't had much progress on finding other telepathic people. We cut over to Ritsu again in his little awakening club. 4% progress, by the way. Ritsu then makes it to his awakening lab place, and he just gets like ushered inside. Mob finally finds another ESPer, but gets a very sickening feeling about him, so doesn't really mention him. We go back to Ritsu again, who's getting introduced to the other ESP kids, who are, no offense, very lame. That's what I said in parentheses. I didn't mention this before, but the club president, the student council president's name is Shinji. We cut to his home life, where you can tell that his older brother is obviously very much better than him. That's what I should have said. And Shinji just kind of wants to live up to that standard, but he's not really doing it. At school, Shinji then comes up to Ritsu and talks to him. As you can tell, they both haven't been doing very good. You know, Shinji's getting compared to his older brother. Ritsu's getting compared to his older brother. So then, for some reason, they decide to break a bunch of recorders. You know those instruments? I used to play them in 5th grade. Weird. Onigawara, I actually started using his name now. He's like the main salt middle thug. He ends up actually going training with the body improvement club. So, like, you know, Onigawara is like, he's turning around for the better. I actually said, we cut back to the little recorder children. Right, Emma? And everyone's like, what happened to our recorders? You know, you should be doing something about this. Like, the people are complaining, obviously. And apparently, Ritsu and Shinji ended up planting a bunch of recorder head things, whatever they're called, in Onigawara, his desk, and try to make him out to be a pervert. Onigawara ends up walking in and be like, hey, why are you guys here? Right when Ritsu opens his desk and shows the recorders. They continue to frame Onigawara, whatever his name is. And since he's a thug, no one really believes him. Like, he's always angry, he's always fighting, you know? And he's trying to turn around, but like, he should have done that earlier, you know? We go to a flashback of Onigawara, where he's like, no one's gonna believe me, but he's like, wait, there's this one girl, Mariko, that's her name, so he thinks, you know, maybe she'll take my side. She's like the only person who would take my side, because apparently she confessed his love to him.
Guys, did you hear that? Mariko's so cool. She got him to confess his love to himself.
And like, when they were like 2. But we cut to a scene of Mariko, and she calls him gross. The pain. Ritsu goes back to the weird lab, and he realizes, what the hell am I doing? Like, he doesn't even have psychic powers. Why am I here? So he tells the dude at the lab that he doesn't have psychic powers, and he throws a spoon. That's important. And then out of nowhere, Reagan shows up and starts talking to Ritsu, you know, like, hey, you have psychic powers, you could help me. And he's like, no, I don't. We cut back to the laboratory, and they're talking about how Ritsu just quit. But then we pan to the spoon, and it's like so bent up. Like, it wouldn't have gotten that bent from just throwing it, you know? So we're kind of hinting at maybe Ritsu having some psychic powers. And then the best thing happens. The episode ends by Ritsu finding Dimple. We're done. I'm so happy. I'm not even gonna lie. I genuinely do like this anime so far. I'm just tired because I've been sitting here for 52 minutes, by the way. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you in the next part. It'll probably come out not too long after this one. But yeah, like, turn the bell. See you in the next one. Bye!